What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Nick 4K video. Today we're checking out a video from J Jack, and his title is Halo 3 was perfect. And yes it was. Yes it was. So for those of you who may not know, Halo 3 is my favorite game of all time. Sure, there are some games that were technically better games, right? Are longer, are overall better quality games. When it comes to what is my favorite game of all time, what game did I spend the most time just doing stuff, having fun with my friends, to this day. So when I was a kid, I had a PS2, and I had a buddy who had an Xbox, and one of his buddies had an Xbox. And what we do is, like, every month, we'd all get together and have a big sleepover night. We get, like, pizza, sodas. Of course, his parents would pay for all that stuff, but he was rich, so it was what it was. We'd grab his CRT TV from the basement, we'd turn it one way, and then we'd go in the living room, we'd grab the big CRT in there, we'd take it down, we'd put the two TVs back to back, and then we would hook up two different Xboxes, and we would actually play like a 4v4 split screen match. So many amazing memories, but that was for Halo 2. I hadn't actually played Halo 1 until the anniversary came out, but I was a PS2 kid. Halo 2 was cool, but like it was one of those things where I had better games on PlayStation 2. You know, I had like Battlefront and Kingdom Hearts, stuff like that. I just cared about that more at the time. So fast forward to 2007. I have an Xbox 360, Halo 3 drops. I had bought Halo 2 a little bit before that, played some games, it was fun, but I was super excited for Halo 3. And this game shook the industry. It was crazy. Ever since then, I was a massive Halo fan. Beat Reach, beat ODST, even beat 4, 5, and Infinite. So good. I'll go a little more in depth as the video goes on, but let's check out this video, guys. Make sure to like, subscribe, turn notifications for more. And with that said, let's begin. Oh, that sound. The menu. So good. So good.
Still music to my ears.
Yep.
In the world of gaming, very few titles hit the G-spot the way Halo 3 did. This game was an absolute masterpiece, and if you had a 360 at the time this game was released and didn't have it, you were pretty much a fucking loser. The game hit over 1 million players in its first 24 hours, became the best-selling game in 2007, was on the news, and ran for fucking president. This game did it all. The game also received glowing reviews from every major game outlet, back when game reviews were done by mostly gamers and not some pussy-ass journalists. But anyway, this was the first game I ever played on 360 when I finally acquired one, and
real quick, I just want to say, Halo 3's graphics at the time were just like so good, and I would still argue they're still pretty good till this day. Of course, there are better looking games now, but even till this day, this still looks pretty good.
I booted the game up and started playing. I was like, whoa. I felt like I was in the fucking TV playing this game. You remember that, right? Back in the day when you played old games and you looked at the graphics and were like, oh my fucking god, this is like real life. But back to the game. The graphics were next gen, the story was great, the story missions were very good, and when I finally got to the multiplayer, I fucking shit my pants. I never thought about it at that point in time because I was a stupid fucking kid, but looking back on my time with Halo 3, I realized I experienced perfection. Let me explain. The story mode is pretty great, but because the rest of the game experience is so fucking amazing, it doesn't get enough love. But I'm about to give it some fucking love. Mr. John Master Chief lands on Earth to snap some alien necks with his super best friend alien pal, the Arbiter. And to put it a stupidly simple way, if John Chief and his best friend don't snap these necks, the bad aliens are going to get their hands on a galaxy-ending weapon. And that's it. The campaign itself is pretty short and takes you through about 9 or 10 pretty good missions that you can play solo or co-op, preferably co-op if you're not a fucking loser and have some friends. But to me, the campaign was just overall a very good time. The levels are well designed, the soundtrack is one of the best of all time, and the moment-to-moment gameplay is great, and there's no really dull moments playing the campaign. And the worst thing I could probably say about it is in the fucking campaign, when Cortana gets in your face and tries to tell you a message, it makes your player movement unbelievably slow. Like you fucking button mash your controller praying that you hit the right button to skip what she has to say. That's how slow it is. Not so much your first playthrough through the campaign, but any playthrough after that,
okay, that's
you're
fair.
Like, no bueno.
I was about to just make an argument against it, but he's right. The first time, it's alright. But then when you're trying to actually, like, especially if you're trying to like fly through levels and do like a speed runs or whatever like we used to do, that was always kind of like come on, get out of my way. So that's fair.
You know, and one more thing about the campaign is that skulls make their lovely return.
Oh,
when collected
skulls,
from their
yes.
location in the campaign missions, these skulls served as modifiers to the gameplay. Some were goofy and harmless, like when you blow off a grunt's head, confetti comes out, and children cheer. There was also not so funny ones, like making enemies permanently invisible, but fuck those ones. But the skulls overall were just nice to have because it added some challenge and replayability to the campaign. But that's enough story for now, because regardless of how amazing the story is, the multiplayer is where it's at. I truly believe the multiplayer in this game to be actual perfection. Like, you look at the overall multiplayer experience that was offered here and you're like, what, you have a fucking stroke, it's so good. The maps, the game modes, the weapons, the vehicles, it was all just so well put together, especially when you compare it to the dog shit we get now. Multiplayer games now can only have wet dreams of being as good as Halo 3's multiplayer was. Halo 3 was just a great fucking time every time you would hop on. And this was largely because the base game had a great amount of variety and content to give the players right from the start. And I would have been fine with just the content from the base game and the multiplayer, and then some future map packs here and there. That would have been pretty cool. But Bungie fucking cracked their knuckles and said, watch this, and proceeded to blow everyone's dicks away with introducing custom games and the Forge map editor.
Yeah. Okay, before we go any further, I'll talk on multiplayer. I don't want to brag. All right. I'm not going to claim to be the best Halo 3 player to ever live. But there was a time, I'm pretty sure I was probably in the top 1,000 best players in Halo 3. I was so good, especially when it comes to doubles. I was so good. Like, there would be like shutout games against people who were actually pretty good, but I would just be so good I could just annihilate anybody I came across. And I don't really, like I said, I'm pretty good in a lot of games. I'm pretty good in COD. You know, I'm pretty good in World of Warcraft. But I was absolutely amazing in Halo 3, and I'll toot my own horn for that. Like I said, top 1,000 players back in the day. I do think so for sure. But of course, that could just be my opinion, and it is my opinion, so it is what it is. Oh, and real quick, I actually wanted to touch on why the campaign was also really cool and revolutionary for its time as well. At the time, the campaign actually had 4-player online co-op. Now, the online co-op, if you had 3 or 4 players, was kind of rough. But if you got it to work, it was actually super fun. And it's one of those things where I don't think the campaign gets enough credit, because the story kind of alters a bit if you play single player or if you're playing co-op with a bunch of buddies. And the reason why I say that is because, like, look at the level of Cortana. In canon and in single player, Master Chief goes by himself to go get her. But in co-op, Master Chief and Arbiter go together. And so they'll actually have a couple more conversations that they wouldn't normally have because Arbiter wasn't there with Chief in that actual situation. So while the story is still the same, whether you have a second or third or fourth player with you, there's little interactions between Chief and Arbiter you wouldn't normally get if you were playing single player, which I think that's a cool factor. I really like that. Not only does it make the characters feel more cohesive and more real, but it's just a really cool concept that you are technically getting 2 different gameplays if you're playing with a second player or if you're playing by yourself, which I always thought was really cool, especially when you're looking at a cutscene where it shows Chief and Arbiter and maybe they're like walking and talking. In the background, you would see player 3 and player 4 walking with them or just kind of standing around doing their own thing. And so while the third and fourth player are just effectively playing some generic elites, they are also kind of in the back of some cutscenes here and there, which just adds, like I said, more cohesiveness to the world. It just makes it feel more you're there, because the other Halo games are just like, hey, I'm Chief, you're also Chief, we're both the same Chief, right? We're just 2 different Chiefs running around, but we're the same Chief in the story. Where Halo 3 was actually like, hey, these are 2 different characters, these are 4 different characters that are all kind of participating in this solo story by itself. I love it, so good. With that side tangent out of the way, let's get back to the video.
Custom games basically allowed you to make your own game modes. Want to use rocket launchers only while running 50,000 miles an hour? You can do that. Want to be glued to a quad with some other hot Spartan while others try to fucking blast you into another galaxy with gravity hammers? Knock yourself out. The sky was the limit with custom games, and what complemented this the most was the ability to make your own custom levels or maps in Forge. Forge just let you create multiplayer maps as well as edit existing ones, which was amazing by itself, but what really put Halo 3 into that god tier level was being able to share these custom game modes and maps with anybody.
Yes.
The first time I realized you could download people's levels was when I saw my brother playing a custom quad obstacle course. And for some reason, this fucking blew my eyeballs out of their sockets. From then on out, I became a custom game whore. I played so many of these custom game modes and maps that it's probably actually sad. But ultimately, these two game modes essentially made for an endless, beautiful, and chaotic multiplayer experience that no other game has been able to recreate to the same extent that Halo 3 did. And to capture all those amazing and bullshit moments during your gameplay, Bungie threw in a theater mode to go back and watch your previously played matches, which was a big fat fucking cherry on top of this whole package. Looking back on Halo 3 17 years later, it's easy to see why it's one of the greatest games of all time. It was a game for gamers and nothing else. Unfortunately, the Halo franchise was never able to reach this type of peak again. Basically, from this point on, Halo slowly lost its reputation as one of the top FPS games on the market. So I consider myself pretty fucking lucky that I saw it at its best.
There's the boy.
I'll always shed a tear thinking about the glory days of Halo 3, and how for me personally, pretty much no other game holds a place in my heart like this one does. And I'm sure many others can say the same.
100%.
But that's it for this video. As always, thank you for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
Yeah, man, great video there, J-Jack, for sure. For sure. Halo 3 was just so good. And I would say, like, all aspects of it was just good. The campaign, solid. Multiplayer, solid. The Forge, just out of nowhere and solid. Oh, and the theater too, of course, that was really cool. I didn't really use that as much, but that was a cool feature for those who did use it. Overall, guys, so good. But what do you guys think? Do you think that Halo will ever reach the peak of this game? I would love to believe that the next Halo is going to do it. I want to believe it. My biggest issues with Halo 4, 5, and Infinite, I'm going to do a video on this soon. They do feel a lot like they are a product, right? Where Halo 1, 2, and 3, while they were still a product, you could feel the love in the story, you know? Sure, they're trying to sell you it, but at the end of the day, it had love behind it. The people making it loved what they were doing. They loved the story, they loved the universe, and you could feel it. And I just don't think you get that with the newer Halos. Not to say that the 343 Halos are all bad, because I do have aspects I actually do really like about those games, but something about this trilogy, the first trilogy, just had a magic that I just don't know if we'll ever see again in gaming. So it is what it is. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. If you guys enjoy this video, want to see more like this, make sure to click the tabs around my face somewhere. You'll see them. It'll show you a bunch of other videos I have. But thanks again for watching. I'll catch you next one. Peace.